Wow, wow, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I am excited to bring to you Al Kirshner, the author of The AI LinkedIn Advantage. We're going to unpack a lot of tips and tricks about being an author and about how to use LinkedIn and AI coupled together to help you scale your business. And if you stick around to the end, I left a special tip just from me to you on how to use AI and LinkedIn together.
Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset.
If you get one shot at this, what kind of shot are you going to take?
If we forget who we are, they're going to forget who you are.
You've got an adversity story that's out of this world.
Everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer.
Welcome back to Clicks and Bricks. Today I'm talking with Al Kirshner. Al has done a lot of amazing stuff. He's deep into the AI world, and I'm super excited to get into this conversation. I think it might be a little different than some of the other episodes you might see on Clicks and Bricks. We might dump into some AI. I'm not sure here. But Al, thank you for joining us today. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity, Ken.
Awesome. Al, before we jump into the questions, can you just give the audience the high level view of who you are and what your business does?
All right. Well, I've been using LinkedIn for the past 20 years. I would say I developed a way to help people optimize their profile on LinkedIn and also be more creative with outreach. I wrote a book. It's called The AI LinkedIn Advantage, and you'll find it over here available. And it's available on Amazon or Spotify. And I'm really proud of it. It just came out in June, and I think it's going to help a lot of people, particularly with AI technology out there, and it's something that really is a game changer, I think, for the platform. So I think your listeners will definitely get a lot of good ideas from what we can talk about today.
Absolutely, and it's changing so quickly. So you wrote a book on how to use LinkedIn, how to use AI, and create an advantage. So you're not doing a piece of software that helps you manage your LinkedIn. You're basically doing the block and tackle of how to use AI in LinkedIn an appropriate way, right? Because I've definitely dabbled into some software packages, and I've been around LinkedIn for quite some time too. It's a great water cooler of the world per se, but it's a noisy place. So can you give us one or two tips on high level stuff on how to use AI in your LinkedIn profile?
Well, certainly you can use AI to actually, in fact, I just did it recently to my own profile to optimize it in a way that will come across impactful to whoever's viewing it. So if I'm connecting with a referral partner, let's say it could be an accountant, it could be an attorney or a financial planner, they'll look at my profile, they'll see within a few seconds whether or not they want to make that connection. And my profile really talks about how I can help them to connect more with their clientele on LinkedIn strategically in a way that will make them the leaders in their field. And that's something that's very compelling for a lot of people who are using LinkedIn and trying to be different than what the crowd is currently. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I have a lot of theories here, and I'm a huge fan of AI and business in general. And I keep hearing this, and I have the same theories too. We're all human, and I love individuality and anonymity and all of those things. And we live in a world where we see where the winner, when we have a clear winner like Facebook, things tend to get bland, the same thing. And I don't know about you, but when I'm the kind of guy that if I walk into a really pristine place, I'm kind of afraid to be comfortable, and I like a couple dents and stuff around. What do you think, as people are getting more and more polished, what are some ways that you can use AI, still bring out your unique value proposition, but then also strive for perfection? Because sometimes perfection gets sterile and not so good. And AI is something that, a lot of these things we can strive for perfection now.
Well, I think it's not necessarily striving for perfection, but I think that the more mistakes that you make, the better you become at what you do. And I think AI allows you to be more creative in your way of thinking. And sometimes some things may work, sometimes they're hit or miss, but I think it allows you to be a lot more freer with your expression. And that includes writing content, creating videos, doing anything that is going to make you stand out from the rest of the pack. And that's really what you need to do in order to become, a thought leader. And that's what my book really kind of delves into.
Awesome. I love it. So I've written myself probably 20 books, and I have 2 bestsellers and 18 pieces of garbage. It's hard to write a book and get it out to the world. What possessed you to start writing this down and try to share it with the world?
Well, it was my first book that I wrote, and actually it's my 10th book over here. And my last book won an award, and I decided, well, I think the world deserves another book that maybe could be award winning, and also that's going to make a difference with people. And I looked on the market to see if there was something that had both AI and LinkedIn together, and it didn't exist. And I said, well, why not? Since I know LinkedIn so much, let me take advantage of the opportunity. And I did that. And I think it was really great because I felt the response that people were after reading it. They were really impressed by the information that was available, and they made a difference in optimizing their profile. They did a better outreach, and it was really incredible the response I got from people. So for me, it was really a blessing, I think, to be a part of that endeavor of creating the book.
Absolutely. And at a time that is so instrumental to the world and the future, right? I don't think LinkedIn's going away, and AI is definitely not going away. If LinkedIn has a competitor, it's going to be AI for sure. But that water cooler is an important water cooler to have for our society, and it's the biggest one on the market. So I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. And you've been able to position yourself into a very unique category of AI and LinkedIn excellence, which is crazy. I love both things, and I honestly haven't even considered pointing AI at my LinkedIn profile to try to improve it. But I also like a little bit of chaos inside my profile. So
Okay.
there's that. I've got 5 questions here that I put together for you, and I think I've already asked the question. So you've also written books about Medicare and insurance.
Uh-huh.
How did you go from that work to writing about AI and LinkedIn?
Well, I would say that I was involved in the insurance industry for over 30 years, and it was something that I was working with LinkedIn, as part of my outreach. And I got really interested in AI technology, and I didn't really see anything on the market that combined both. And I realized there was an opportunity available, and I would say that certainly, it got me thinking, this is an incredible way to be part of technology that's already on the cutting edge right now. I'm on the cusp of, it's not like AI has been around for 20 years or anything. It's just really just starting to grow. So I said, I better take advantage now because it's now or never. And that's really what motivated me to kind of write the book. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I want to touch on it. It's new because AI isn't new. It's been around for a long time. But when ChatGPT 3.5 came out, if you knew anything about technology, you knew that it was something different than a large query or an algorithm. And you knew that almost instantly when you saw it, right?
Yep.
And so anybody that was in that world and they saw that, it was a very profound moment that day when 3.5 hit the market and we were starting to play with it. Because I'd been playing with AI for years prior, like Jarvis and things like that didn't quite hold the mustard to what we have today with this transformer technology, which is absolutely beautiful. Yeah. I love it. I want to touch on that just for a second. There's millions of people on the planet today that are doing a job that have expertise in a very specific job. And that job is going to be converting over to AI, and new jobs will be created, and we don't know what the economy is going to look like. And there's a lot of things that we all have to figure out together. What Al has figured out here is there's a huge opportunity for anybody that specializes in a specific category or a specific piece of software on how to use AI with that piece of software. QuickBooks, you've got every single piece of software out there on the market, every website on how you can leverage AI to improve your performance on that specific piece of software or platform. And I think you nailed it there. And you took those two things together and melded them together for the world to use, and they can see that in different insights, and it will help them for sure. Do you have any stories of people that have kind of reached out and said, hey, I used your stuff and this is the outcome that I got?
Oh yeah, I mean, dozens. And I find that people, once they embrace the technology, most people are kind of afraid for doing it. And I found that once I showed them, step by step what they can accomplish, they're really impressed by how much time they saved and how vast their outreach, and also putting them in a totally different direction that they didn't even realize. So it's really incredible how it's evolving. And I was impressed even to this day. I'm working with an AI, which is by Google, and they have a way to create almost a team of virtual assistants that could be part of a board of advisors. Just imagine having Gary Vaynerchuk and Seth Godin and some of these other people part of your advisors of going forward with every, you're questioning your business. And it's all available through the technology now, which is incredible. If I wanted to have a coach, for example, the cost, I don't know, $1,000, $2,000 a month easily. I have an AI coach that helps me in the business and how to market, which is incredible. I ask questions, they're asking me questions. It's dialogue. It's incredible that it's changed, and it's really made it affordable for those who aren't small business to take advantage of this technology. It's incredible.
Absolutely. And you can buy books like yours, or you can go to our sponsor, Inlink.com, who can take a retainer and help you build your business around AI. What you're talking about, AI departments, right? Whole departments in AI where not everything is AI needed. You need research, you need writers for AI, but sometimes it's just a simple query, or I get an email and I need to execute this thing. Building AI departments is very wild, and some tools out there today. If you're watching and you already have some knowledge on AI, but you want to start thinking about how do I build not just agents, but whole departments, N8N and Make.com, not affiliated with either one of them, but they're two amazing tool sets that can help you really create some automations that are out of this world. In your book, in your LinkedIn book, you explain how AI can make profiles and outreach better. Can you share one or two examples of how that might work?
Well, for example, if you want to establish yourself as a thought leader on the platform, it'll help you create content, particularly articles. And you can send newsletters on LinkedIn. In fact, you can do up to 5 different newsletters I send out each week. For example, I have one for financial planners, one for accountants, one for attorneys that really help them to be better at using LinkedIn. And that's something that the AI was able to give me ideas of what to think or what to create, what to write. And then I also was able to use AI technology to create scripts for videos, which I post to groups. And that's something that really will set you apart as a thought leader. And that's really what I help people who work with me to become, because that's really going to set them apart from the competition.
Absolutely. Me, it's been a lot of, I've been a writer for a long time, my whole life. And I've been a performer my whole life. What AI has done for me is it's PhD level everything. So I can use it as a collaborator. Hey, does this make sense? Is this something worth putting out? And you almost have like experts at your disposal. So if you're thinking about putting something out, now you have the confidence to do that because you can cross-check it with a real professional. And the editors used to cost a lot of money. You can write your own content now, give that to ChatGPT and say, hey, you're my editor, edit this piece of content. And it does an absolutely phenomenal job very, very fast.
Yeah, it is incredible. The technology is really amazing. I'm so impressed. So yeah, it's great. It's a great time to be in business. I would tell you that.
Oh, it is. It's a wonderful time to be alive. I scratch my head very frequently and I look at the door and I look out of my office and I ask my employees, I'm like, if we could do anything in the world, what are we going to do? Unfortunately, it just falls back to help companies deploy AI so that they don't fall behind. Anyway, you're known for your work in Medicare and insurance, and now in AI for networking. Do these two areas connect in any way for you?
Yeah. For example, when it comes to claims, a lot of times our claims are getting denied because of errors in codes by doctors or something that doesn't look like it really is medically necessary. AI can create a letter to the claims department that makes it so compelling to actually convince them to open the case and re-examine it again, where normally you have to pay someone hundreds of dollars to do that for you. AI can go ahead and do that. And people are amazed about what really is done because the insurance companies are using actually AI technology to deny claims. So you can fight back, with, the right tools to actually get your claim processed and paid for. And that, even though it shouldn't happen, but it does, at least you have a great resource that you can turn to. So there is definitely a correlation between both.
I am dumbfounded by the amount of people that have not embraced AI or even have an idea of where we're at. I get super excited when people are embracing it and they're using it, even in the most fundamental ways as a coach or a therapist or something like that. But on the other side, whenever I see people just kind of not embracing it at all, and I try to imagine what the future is going to look like, and I imagine a wildly multicultural globe with kids that never come out of VR and kids that never go into VR and everything in between. So do you have any insights there for the kids that are watching or maybe see this in 5 years and look back and look and go, holy smokes, it's been a crazy 5 years?
Well, I'd be surprised because I would say kids are pretty much on the cutting edge of technology right now. I mean, they're learning this at school that I never learned when I went to school. I mean, they have access to so many tools and, with smartphones and, AI technology, I mean, I'd be surprised if they are not embracing that compared to the, Generation X and boomers who may not be, so adept at these things. So it's just going to see how things change. But I definitely see a revolution coming around, and AI is definitely be part of that.
It is an interesting concept when you have a PhD level person that you can talk your physics questions and astro stuff to at any time of the night.
Yeah.
It is a world that I'm very glad that I get to live in at the moment.
That is true. It is the time to be here. And I'm working right now with AI technology to actually use my voice, for potential podcast, opportunities. That's one of my ideas because it's got to a point where it's really so creative in a way, deep voice or deep fakes can be in a positive way helpful, because think about how many hours you spend talking, and all of a sudden, if you lose your voice, what do? You're out of business. But with AI, you got your voice that you could pass on for generations.
Yeah.
Just imagine your grandchildren years from now. Okay. Ask grandpa what he thinks, right? And all of a sudden they hear your voice, what your ideas are, and they're saying, wow, you're like immortal, So think about it.
It is a wildly enjoyable time. And I agree with you. You should document as much as you possibly can, as frequently as possible. The human factor has never been more digestible than it is today. And you can give all of that data to the computer and share it in wildly profound ways.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, just imagine if you wanted to talk to Benjamin Franklin, okay? You could take the information from his book and download to AI, and then create an AI simulator that you're actually talking to the man based on all of his concepts instead of reading hundreds of books.
Yeah. I would argue you're talking with a sliver of the man. From my books, it's a sliver of the man.
Yeah.
But yes, there's a lot of data on him. And that's why, I've sat in a room for about 72 hours and just recorded every thought that I could think of for 3 days and just recorded everything and just got it all in there. And I still feel like it's just a sliver of who I am.
Of course, yeah.
In there, but we digress. What's one easy LinkedIn tip from your book that our listeners could use today with AI to get better results?
An easy tip. Well, I would say, focus in on optimizing your profile. You could update your headshot if you haven't done recently. There's a background image that's available that you can use with Canva and find ways to have more a billboard that's more compelling than just a blank one. That could be a great starting point. List types of accomplishments. We'll also give AI a compelling headline that you want to come across. So let's say you're an accountant. You can say, well, accountant may just say, working for an independent accountant, or I work for this firm, or be a little more descriptive in that. And AI can define a descriptive thing. So maybe when a potential prospect is looking for accounting services, they may consider you first versus the competition. That could be a great example.
Yeah. And realistically, you can tell the AI that, hey, I'm an accountant and these are the kinds of clients I like working with. What should my headline be? Right. So you can really start have the best marketing people, the best science, the psychology people, sociology, all PhD level at your fingertips. How would they, if they wanted to update their LinkedIn profile, what would be their first step for somebody that has a LinkedIn and they have, they've just been asking ChatGPT some questions? What's the first thing that they should do when they want to get started with having an analysis of their LinkedIn profile? How would you walk somebody through that very first step?
Well, again, we would start with, of course, the headshot and make sure it looks professional, and because you don't get a second chance to make a first impression, so you really want to invest the money into that because that's what first thing people are going to see. Second is going to be the headline. You want to find out something that's compelling, that's going to give a reason for someone to connect with you, as opposed to listing off a number of accomplishments. People want to know is what can you do for them. And that's something what you want to share in that headline, and that's something will grab them. And then once you've done that, they'll want to look at the rest of it. So you take a look at your about section and make something that's very compelling. So if you're an accountant or an attorney and you're looking for certain clients, share that information in there, make it more like a copywriter would write, in a sense. And that's when AI can help simulate that situation. Create content, articles, any type of, you can do case studies, an ebook you can create easily on the fly that you can share with someone who may be a potential prospect for you. That's really just some of the things that people like that. They like getting things that are really easy to manage. It's going to help make their life easier. If you can do that, they will give a reason to follow you and connect with you.
Absolutely. I love it. I've got these questions from my favorite podcast, The Diary of a CEO, and I'm going to pull just a random question out here. I've not seen it yet. This question comes from the Liver King. Are you familiar with Liver King? He's a ridiculous character. What is the hardest thing you've ever done in your life?
Write a book, I would say.
Write a
Yeah,
book.
my first book was the hardest I've ever done in my life.
What made that was the publishing hard, the actual writing it, or the publishing of it was the hard part?
It was a combination of both. I didn't realize that writing a book was a team effort, and I tried to do everything all by myself. And also, the technology back 10 years ago wasn't where it is today. So you can imagine, the amount of errors and stumbles I've come across. It was very challenging, to say the least. So that would be the hardest thing, I would say.
Yeah. And what was that first book?
Well,
that
it
you
was
wrote?
called, it was a health book, actually, called The Truth About Caffeine. And actually, it's still on the marketplace and talks about some of the detriments of caffeine addiction. And it really resonated with a lot of people, I would say, for those who are into health. And I don't really consume caffeine whatsoever, but I think a lot of people benefit of it. And it turned into other books on the subject. Confessions of a Caffeine Addict was my follow-up book, and it had 40 true stories of people dealing with caffeine addiction. And these are people who
Wonderful.
reached out to me, and I used their stories, and I just did slight editing, but that was their stories. But I put it all together in a way that, makes it really interesting for people to read about. So it's amazing.
Absolutely. So somebody that was thinking about writing a book 10 years ago and somebody and they didn't write it 10 years ago, but it's still kicking around in their back of their head. What advice do you give them today?
Stop procrastinating and get on the ball. Okay. There's no better time to get a book out than now. I mean, you have all the resources available, technology, AI. So there's no excuse, and like I said, I wish I had this technology 10 years ago. It's just really amazing how easy it is.
It is a lot of work. AI makes it so much easier to write a book today, of keeping track of where you're at, having a proofreader, even just having something you can dump the whole book into and say, hey, go through this and tell me where I have some context errors. That's a lot of work. And, AI helps us in tremendous ways there. That saves us. I can't even imagine how many hours it saves us on that whole process. And for me, even having the ability to have it read back my book to me, so I don't have to keep reading it over and over. I can hear it, and I hear different errors when I hear it out loud. So it is truly a remarkable time. Al, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. Before we go, is there anything you would like to leave our guests with?
Check out my book. It's available on Amazon as well as other fine retailers. Audiobook versions on Spotify and Audible. So I've got a QR code over here. People can scan in if they want.
Oh, hold that up really good. Scan that QR code.
So they can go directly over there.
We'll put a link at the bottom also in the show notes on
okay.
YouTube and anywhere.
And they can also go to my website, linkvantage.com. I have a free ebook that they can check out, how to optimize profile. So that's free of charge. You don't even need to put your email address either. So, which is make it easier for people. I just want to get the information out to people so they can take advantage of some of the information that I use, my resources, so it can help others. That would be awesome. And follow me on LinkedIn, of course.
AI is scary, but once you get into it and you start using it and you see the power, it's not hard to use. And I think people think that it's hard to use for some reason.
Well, there's always a certain learning curve, but once you take it on, I mean, you'll just find it to be you wouldn't be able to do without it. You wonder why anybody would do without it, especially when you're doing searches. And I'm using one app called Perplexity, which is incredible. And it really gives you direct answers. And like, let's say in the old days, you go to Google and you look for it, but all the time you got to go through the ads and other things that are being promoted and not really getting directly what you want. And that's why I see the future is with AI technology when doing searches. You'll get to the point of what you're looking for. You'll have it to use it to make plane tickets for you, to make reservations at restaurants, all doing with AI technology. So it's something where the future is. I think 5 years from now, it's going to be a really game changer for people who've been doing searches and research.
I'm struggling looking 6 months ahead right now. It is moving so fast. And, we start projects and it's like, okay, this is our process. And we start the project and already somebody now has just a one-click thing for that whole process. It might be 20 steps. And, I think it's reimagining how you do business. And if it can be automated, it should be automated so that humans can work on more profound things.
I agree. It's definitely a game changer.
Awesome, Al. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ken.
I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sticking around. I just wanted to give you one quick tip, and this is my tip on how to really start scaling your LinkedIn profile using AI. I think the very first thing you should do is just take your LinkedIn URL and bring it over to ChatGPT 5, put it in there and say, hey, can you just give me a full analysis of my LinkedIn profile and tell me what things I should improve to attract and the kind of client that you're trying to attract. I think that's a very, very basic first step, and I think that's where you should start. Thank you so much and have a great day.